Hello and welcome to Slice of Piefer. I'm Dr. Piefer. I'm here with
Taylor Hayden, PAC, with Dr. Piefer.
emotional support. Taylor is here with me today.
Yep, per usual.
She is here per usual, but we have the exciting privilege and honor to have Dr. Maureen Gibbons here, a great friend. We've been colleagues for a long time, and author, podcaster, lifestyle medicine expert, expert in all things, really. And so welcome. Thank you so much for being here. How's everything going?
Fantastic. Thank you for, I'm so glad to be here in person and just enjoying being with you in a different environment. It's not 3 a.m. I'm not describing a fracture.
Yes. Always good. I love it. We had a really, really cool dinner. It's been within the last 6 months, I think, probably. We were at Perry's and we're just like, hey, what's going on with you? And life was moving and changing, and you were living the shift, right? You're in the throes of living the shift at that time. But you've obviously got your book, Freedom to Shift, which this is your second book, correct?
Correct.
Yes. And I already know the answer, but how's it doing?
Oh, as of today, it is bestseller in 4 Amazon categories.
That is so cool. Very, very awesome. You got to be super proud. I'm proud of you.
That's awesome.
Yes, I'm so excited.
So Taylor only knows that you're coming. She has been kept in the dark about most everything. She does know that you worked in the emergency room.
I do know that.
But I was like, we're going to see how it goes in terms of letting you tell us about Freedom to Shift. Because I've had also the exclusive opportunity to get to read some of this book already. So,
yes.
But tell us about it. Why did you choose to move forward with this book? And I said forward. I'm going to ask you about the forward later.
Yes, I didn't choose to move. And that's kind of why I wrote the book, because my career shift was not how I planned. I was not in control. And I don't like that. I don't like being blindsided. And SHIFT actually stands for Success Happens in Focused Transition. Because when you are put up against a circumstance that you didn't have control over, which is really 99% of them, let's be honest. I mean, we can control zilcho in this universe. So when I had my situation changed, I might be abdicating a bit of responsibility here because I didn't fit the mold any longer. I got pushed out because I didn't fit. The shoe was too small anyway. In the ER, I'd been there for 15 years. Women don't last that long in the ER, especially working overnight. We just usually don't. And 50% of us leave 4 years out of residency. So right. I was an old lady out there. And now I'm an old lady over here. So it's okay. It's all good. But the book this kind of documented my transition from traditional medicine with a bunch of things on the side over the years. I've done literally decades of entrepreneurship. I looking through old documents, I used to have an athletic training. I used to supply athletic trainers to half the counties in Northwest Ohio. And I didn't realize it was even that many until I was going through my old documentation, scanning it, getting rid of it. I've done this kind of thing forever. I find a need, fill it. Oh, look, somebody needs this. Well, how can the system fix that? Well, the system can't fix that. Well, then I'll make my own system. That doesn't fit in traditional medicine.
That's true.
So when I left the ER, I was still doing freestanding shifts, but at the same time, if you've read Arthur Brooks' From Strength to Strength, I kind of hopped on that second curve where I was helping the public navigate healthcare, navigate the lifestyle medicine space, navigate their GLP-1 prescriptions. Where do you get them? How do you get them? How do you manage them? Putting content out because I was helping people. And I had someone ask me, wait, you're a doctor? And I said, yep. And they're like, can you be my doctor? I said, I don't know. Maybe. So I literally created this entire practice by mistake.
But I love it.
Oops.
It's awesome, that shift for you has changed so much, right? And not only you've been in a lot of the leadership meetings with me, right, at Memorial Hermann, but also shifting out of that and now leading your own business, your own medical practice, your own business, your own books. I mean, it's really inspirational to get to see sort of the way that you have been able to not only take the reins, right? It sounds like you maybe started riding with no reins, but you've been able to take the reins and move things in a way that really is just, I mean, skyrocketing you right now, which is awesome. So
Yeah, it was definitely the headless horseman for a while. And for the first 3 years of my practice, I didn't do it correctly at all. I made a lot of, I don't like the word mistakes. I learned a lot of lessons. I've changed them. I lost a lot of very good friends. If I could, it's not the financial burden of the mistakes. I would spend that money again if I could keep the friends.
yeah,
That's been the kind of hard part. But live and learn. Like I can't do things, I can't go back. And all I have to do is keep giving because service is it's why we do this. It's why you went
Right.
into school. It's why you went into the health professions because you want to serve. And it's not just the patient. It's your coworkers, your colleagues, it's the teams. And funny you say that about the shift into becoming my own administration, really.
right.
You don't do very well at that at the beginning, come to find out.
I believe it. I believe it.
And I have a team of over 20 people now. And I've had a team of over 20 that has morphed. But it's been increasingly obvious that I cannot be the top. Whereas the bottleneck, it's at the top. If I expect to take good care of people in the practice or coaching high achievers and physicians on the coaching side, that's my zone of genius. But in the practice, there are people who know better than I do. And I hired someone today because I'm like, I've hit my limit. I can't train this person up anymore. They've hit my limit. And you have to be willing to accept that no, I don't know everything. I'm not a special snowflake.
Right. Right. And that can be, I mean, that especially in this day and age, I guess when we were growing up, it was super clear to me that I was not a special snowflake from basically everyone that we talked to, but that shifted over the course of the last 2 decades. Taylor is a special snowflake.
Indeed.
We
yes,
all are.
indeed. Yes. In my own little sphere, I'm a special snowflake who's never seen snow.
That is true. That is true. But what do you think? So, I mean, you talked about coaching, right?
Yep.
And so coaching is a big part of what you're doing. But one of the things that you've told me is what's the first question you should ask somebody who's going to coach you, right? Is who coaches you?
Yes.
Who's your coach, right? And so tell me about that because you have a pretty awesome or multiple pretty awesome coaches, I think.
Yep. One primary, Dan Martell, is the primary coach. And in one of his programs, he actually brings in his CEO and his creative director, the head of media, into his program to give you a well-rounded, like you get information from everywhere. So you get the really high-level administrative information. And then you get, how did they build this? I mean, they built a huge media engine in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it floors me. So, but Dan Martell is the primary coach. He has taught me, he gave me what I craved. I craved systems, and I never knew what I craved. All I knew was when I would go to the ER and something wasn't happening the way I thought it should, or not even that. One of my worst flaws, worst days, is when I would lose control of a trauma room. Because it's chaos, right? But you have to maintain the semblance of control. And now it was never obvious from the outside. Right? It was all, this is internal.
Right.
We all have higher standards than the outside. And I didn't realize, like when I would ask, hey, where are these protocols for disaster management or something like that? They couldn't tell me. And that started to not make me feel very good.
Sure.
And I realized, no, I don't necessarily need to read them, but I need to be able to find them when I need them. And that just doesn't seem to be present in a really clear fashion. And I craved that. I had no idea. So in comes Dan Martell and he says, hey, here's how you do things. This is your framework. Every week he teaches a new framework. And that's why in my coaching, every week I teach a new framework. Some are in my book, but if you're in my coaching, I'm already beyond this. I mean, I'm in shift number 2. This is
right.
That part is done. That part is stable. We're good. I mean, that business has been running for 3.5 years and it's only getting better. We took a revenue hit just because we changed our model halfway through the year. But that's never been no venture capital, no paid advertising. That's been 100% organic from the beginning. And I replaced my full-time income in 6 months.
That's pretty awesome. Very cool.
So it's a lot of fun too.
Gives you that opportunity, right? To share a bit and to I mean, just to get out and coach and to lead people is so, it's just such a blessing, really. You know, not only to be leading your family, right? You have your spouse is in medicine,
Yeah. Still full-time on the ground, traditional at work right now.
right? Wondering why do you get to go do a podcast in the middle of the day, right?
It's
And do
that's
your
been
own
an interesting
podcast.
journey.
Yes.
I was going to say that's been interesting watching. He wasn't on board in the beginning. He's very traditional and didn't understand. And I've realized when you do these kinds of things, and we've talked about this, people just don't understand.
Right.
And that's okay. It's your vision. It's your dream. Don't take away from your family though for it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my whole thing. It has to give back. It has to give back
Right.
to patients. It has to give back to colleagues. I want to give back to the medical profession.
Right. When we talk, I mean, one of the things Taylor's heard, we've talked about it a bunch, balance, right? Balance in your life. And a lot of the big push now is that you can't have balance, right? If you want to be successful, you're not going to be balanced. And I think that there's a line there though, in my opinion. I think that there's an appropriate imbalance, right? If you're so imbalanced that all I'm doing is I'm sacrificing my family, my career, everything that I've got to write this book, right? Because if you really want to be a great author, then not only do you have to cut out these two things, but you need to cut out everything so that you can be the best here. And you start to hear that message, and I hear, especially from young people, I hear that like, oh, well, if I want to be a great entrepreneur, then I need to sleep 4 hours a night. I need to be every moment of my day is working. And I'm doing, and ultimately, you know, Dan Martell talks about it and buy back your time, right? I mean, all of these things, but I think there's a way to shift the imbalance towards your own good and towards the good of your family and the good of your community, the good of because there's plenty of things you can do that are out of balance in the wrong way.
100%. And I do think balance is BS, frankly. I use the term integration instead, right? It's not, because it's like a seesaw. You're going to have seasons where, think about medical school, right? I mean, in residency, literally, I saw my husband 4 days a month, some months, you know, and that was it. And thank goodness for my mom helping me take care of the dog, you know, because like, it just, you know what it's like. You're not going to have balance in residency. You know, your trauma ICU rotation, you're not going to have balance. That is all you do. Does that mean it's not worthwhile? No. Can it last forever?
Also, no.
Except it does. I mean, you know, I mean, because that's what we do. It's what we learn to do. It's what we're trained to do. And I'm not saying the system. I hate the system. I hate that term. The system didn't do it. The healthcare system is designed to do exactly what it's designed to do. We have an operating system, which is, I think, what you're getting at. If that operating system is not calibrated toward what's really important, you have to come back to that center. It's like a seesaw, right? You can tip to medical school, tip to residency, tip to writing a book. It's like the ones with the 4 people on it. You know, as long as eventually, listen, at the middle of that is you and your family and your health at the core, you'll be fine.
What do you think about that, Taylor?
No, I totally agree. I mean, there's examples of what y'all are talking about, like again, imbalance isn't the right word, but thinking about the person who, I mean, he's been practicing as a surgeon for 15, 20 years, but they still act like a resident as far as the hours they sleep, the hours that they're off site. I mean, we can all think of examples of that where, yes, you trust them if something happens that they're going to do the best that they can, but you know, that balance isn't there, and you see it almost on their person, right? When you look at them, you're like, man, they're great at what they do, but man, they also kind of look miserable.
Yeah,
you know?
or unhealthy.
Yeah. Or the joke that they always make about like the neurosurgeon, like, you know, do you have any kids? I don't know. You'll have to ask my wife, right? Like they just, you know, the balance.
No, you know, when we think about it, we look at, you know, Sir William Osler. It was just where this came from. They're residents because you signed up to live in medicine, and today's generation coming out isn't willing to do that. And I know people will poo-poo that, but I think maybe it'll swing too far. Who knows? But somebody's got to question the status quo. Because we
No
lose
doubt.
20 years ago when I was working in, I think it's 20. It's probably more than that, but we're just going to call it 20. I was working with an electrophysiologist in med school, and he said at that time we lost the equivalent of an entire graduating medical school class every year of physicians that saw no other way out other than taking their own lives. When we talk about the physician shortage, I think that's something that has to be addressed. Because what if you can keep them healthy, happy, feeding their soul with something on the side, which we know we never do anything on the side. We bust it out and it becomes too big and then the seesaw tips. But if we address that, and what if you kept that doctor not only alive, but on the ground for 10 more years, working 6 shifts a month, working half time?
Right. Yeah, I mean, burnout is a real thing. It's and it's not a sign of weakness. It's just it becomes a sign of almost hopelessness, right?
Yeah.
And that part is a huge challenge when you meet folks who have given so much of their life and they're sitting in that just despair, you know?
That's what I thought. I thought the pit of despair.
Right. And that part is a challenge because these are the people who you're relying on to take care of people. Right? These are the ones who you expect to be on their game, and you can't be on your game if you're clinically depressed. If you are in that state of despair, if you're in that state of just feeling lost, and what's the point? What's the purpose? Right? And your purpose has always been there, right? The purpose has always been, I'm going to serve, I'm going to help people, I'm going to get people better, I'm going to do this, and then ultimately you sacrifice your own life, your own family for that. And that's a big challenge, but it's something that most people don't see. I think most people don't open their eyes to from outside of medicine. And even now, maybe just over the course of the last 5 or 10 years, we've started to open our eyes to it, really.
Well, I think, as far as coaching physicians and high achievers, but I'll stick to physicians for this discussion, their best time grabbing them is about 5 years out of residency. The problem is that's when we still think we're invincible.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. I was a card-carrying member. I was going to be in that emergency department for the rest of my career and probably the rest of my life, like till the end, literally. But if you can grab someone early and show them, oh, wait a minute, I can do this. I can use my expertise. No extra certifications, no extra anything. You don't need an MBA. I've had multiple people tell me, you really should get an MBA. I'm like, I'm too busy businessing to get an MBA.
Right. Yep.
Too busy falling on my face.
No doubt. So in addition to all of these things, in terms of balance or an imbalance, you're an Ironman, right? Multiple times over. Are you racing again? Do you have races coming up, or what's the plan from the athletic and physical side? I just happened to do an F45 workout, so I'm not going to be able to get out of this chair after my F45 workout yesterday. That was a deal that I cut with one of our guests, and Taylor has held my feet to the fire on it.
Nice.
So yesterday I went and almost had to go throw up outside when we were finished. So
No, honestly, I commend you for that. I'm not working out anywhere near as hard as I should be. I don't like the word should, but I'm going to use it here because how about let's rephrase that. As hard as I need to be to meet the goals of a half Ironman in March.
half Ironman in what, 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
12. I think it's 11. I think
11
I counted
weeks.
yesterday. It's 11.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Nice.
So that's how many? That's 1.1 miles in the water.
1.2 swim.
1.2 swim.
56-mile bike, and then a half marathon.
23 point. No, that's
13.1.
13.1.
Yep.
Nice.
So-
And you got it set for March. That's
Uh-huh.
awesome.
It's there. It's waiting. It's waiting for me.
But you've coached for triathlon as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Are you still doing any coaching for triathlon, or are you doing mostly physician and high level leader coaching?
My coaching is specifically for high achievers and physicians, but I'll tell you, a lot of them end up asking questions on, I'm going to train for a marathon, because again, it's
Right.
integration. And the cool thing is, I mean, I'm a certified sports nutritionist. I was certified 2 different organizations as a USAT and Ironman triathlon coach for 10 years. I was an athletic trainer held that for 26 years. You can tell I'm really good at letting things go. And I couldn't work as an ATC, but it didn't matter. I still kept it. So when they ask me these questions, I can answer. I mean, that's what I do in my practice. I don't do the medicine. I do process and coaching.
Yep.
Because that's, to me, the fun part.
Cool.
That's what a lot of patients really need, though. I mean, when we talk to them here in the clinic, we're like, hey, you have this, big goal that you have coming up. I was talking with somebody today who's got, several different orthopedic problems. And I said, have you ever thought about actually working with somebody, because he's tried physical therapy in the past and hasn't had good results. I said, have you ever thought about actually working with like a dedicated coach, maybe an exercise physiologist, maybe somebody like that, and somebody that can be familiar with the limitations that you're going to have with your specific injuries? Because he was basically saying his outlet, for, his mental health essentially was always working out, and that's been taken away from him. And I said, it's not gone. It's just, we have to adapt. We have to change, right?
Yes.
We're all, whether it's this injury or as we age or any other things that may come up in your life.
Kids.
Exactly. I was going to say, my first thought was, pregnancy, taking away what routines you were used to. There's ways to go around that. You just have to find the right support and somebody who can guide you through that. And so it's funny. We were just talking about that earlier with that guy.
And having a 25-minute conversation with him on the phone.
Correct.
It was great. It was
Correct.
awesome.
Yeah.
No, it was great. He's going to get there. But I mean, it's a little bit from his standpoint, maybe even a little bit of situational type depression. Like you're in that post-op phase. Your freedom has essentially been taken away to some extent. You can't do the things that you were supposed to do. I'm not letting him do the things that he wants to do with his shoulder because we got to get him healed. He's a couple weeks into this, give or take. And so, and that's frustrating and hard, and being able to cope with that is not easy from the patient side. So we recognize that. And so we get to spend some extra time trying to help reinforce.
Well, and that's
positivity.
that's a really good perspective, because you see the need. You can't do it, right? You're not going to sit with this guy 5 days a week and have that kind of capability. I mean, we all have 24 hours in the day. We have to decide what's important, and you can't do it all.
Yep.
But this guy's just had his, like you said, his outlet, exercise, quote unquote, addiction aside, when people get used to that level of activity and you don't let them do it, it throws their hormones out of whack. Your biology is done. I mean, you just, and you tell them, well, you can still do lower body or whatever. Oh, I don't want to. I want to do what I want to do. That's where this book comes in.
Sure.
Because
Absolutely.
you have to take it and reframe it to, now it becomes my focus transition. All right, how do I shift my way through this and take control over it? I was talking to a woman today, and she was asking, she had survived her 5th cancer, normal genetically, so she doesn't have Lynch syndrome or anything where and come to find out through our discussion, she has a PhD in biology, because I was saying, she was asking me about nutrition questions. I said, number one, you need to work with an oncologist to back this. I said, but why don't you become the person who helps people through this? You're going to beat this. Because she's 5 years in remission, but she's still very thin. I said, so you need the nutritional background. Yes, I can do that part, but why don't you do that part? Get with an oncologist, see what you really should be putting in your body, not like dirty protein, like one of the terms I use. How do you do that? You do that, then you bring that service to other people, because then it grows. I mean, if every patient who needed you guys showed up on your doorstep, you couldn't open the doors.
Right. It's true. Very, very true.
Absolutely.
So we talked about this book and about the shift from medicine, or shifting within medicine, shifting from medicine. But the idea that this book is not just for doctors. It's not just for healthcare professionals, right? This is a mindset essentially for anybody who's a high level leader, especially when you're starting to feel that squeeze and the pressure, not only to manage it, but to see that there's opportunities. You have the outlet that you can go to, right?
Yep. And I call us dangerously overeducated, because we think that we're boxed in by the frame around our diploma. That's all we can do, because I have a certificate that says I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm an executive, I wear a tie to work. Okay, maybe not. You know, you could do other things. Imagine if whoever, the patient who can't work with his shoulder, I don't know what he does for a living, but imagine if he coached other people on or spoke on stages about how he went through this. He could, instead of like me, I took a year and a half to get through my identity crisis. Sorry about that. You heard a lot of it. I can get people through it in 3 months. You don't have to take a year and a half.
Right.
And what do I always hear, especially from physicians? Well, I can't afford to do something else. Well,
Right.
Well, yes, you actually can, because you don't stop until you ramp it up. There's no pay cut. And this one scales.
Right. Yeah. And so the biggest hurdles to scaling when you're relying on yourself are what?
Time.
Right.
Energy, really. But
And you, right? If it's just you, if it only relies on you, then you can only scale as much time as you can do it until you run yourself into the ground.
And like what we were saying about doctors, because we feel the need. Even in my practice, I had one of my providers tell me, well, where do I look up these labs? I'm like, they're already in the chart. The assistant put them in the chart for you. Wait, but I need to know where they are. No, you don't. There's somebody who does that for you. Let that part go. But we have this need. I call it the competence trap, because we're good at stuff. So we keep doing it and we enjoy it. This isn't like, it's not like society telling us, oh, you have to do this. You have to be a good mom, and you have to go to work, and you have to do. No, we like it.
Yeah.
So we pile more on, and then it's like, now you keep the parts you like out of those things, but you can hire out the parts on the bottom.
Yep. No doubt. We talked about this. We were talking about something I wrote called the leadership diagnostic, but it's trying to identify these toxic leadership traits, and one of those is that final person who's really micromanaging everything, right? And that ultimately, when you're micromanaging, you're making an excuse for yourself to not have to make the high level decisions, right?
It's harder.
Because by sitting around and doing the little things here, rearranging the desk,
Yeah, I'm going to go
cleaning
sleep.
up
I'm going to
this, and
sweep the
gonna
floor.
right. Instead of trying to figure out how am I going to move my career forward, or how am I going to help.
I'm the
this
high level
patient.
CEO, yet for some reason here I am assembling a chair.
Right.
Yes.
doing chair assembly, or doing, and so that inability to delegate, that micromanager at the end, ultimately, we had a really fun conversation about a lot of different leadership types, and so the tyrant, right? You've seen some tyrants, I'm sure.
That
in
is
your day.
yes, that is, I am a tyrant sometimes. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Actually, I seagull, unfortunately. I'm not very good at it at times. I seagull, I swoop in, I crap on everybody, and I leave. So I'm learning because, again, you see a problem when you're up at the high level. You look down, you see a problem, like a hot dog on a grill for a seagull, right? You see it. Hey, did you ever work I used to tend bar and cater at a golf course. Anyway, many years ago, they would eat the entire hot dog. It was entertaining. So seagull comes down, sees a problem, goes, grabs it, and then just flies off, which is, we're trained to see problems.
Right.
We're not trained, and that's human nature. You have to cultivate your ability to see the good. And what does it take? 5 good thoughts to negate a negative one?
Right.
I mean, who practices that for real? I mean, a lot of us do, because we're in this space. But,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Like Taylor's going to be like,
I can
like
tell him
100
5 nice things, 5 awesome things, and the one negative piece of criticism, it's going to be like that. That's what you're going to latch onto, because that's the type of, that's the personality type. That's what we're innately kind of driven to do. It takes practice to go, yeah, but I'm going to take that and I'm going to receive that as potentially a gift. Like they're giving me the opportunity to improve upon something, not that they're, crapping on me, so to speak.
Right, and threatening me. Like, oh, they're telling me I'm doing it wrong. Well, you probably are. And that's okay. And that's one of the biggest things, especially in the, how do I say this? The political climate of GLP-1s and the misinformation out there. I have had to learn to hold the exact opposite opinion that I have and still have a conversation with someone and understand that they're still good people, or other medical issues that have recently been in the news and such. People will say, they don't agree with this, or they do agree with this. And I'm like, that's not scientifically sound. Okay. Well, it doesn't make them a bad person. And I've learned to hold that space. I am 52 years old. You know how hard that is?
Yes, I hear you. I mean, but that's the key in terms of just being able to put yourself into the shoes of the folks that you're working with and working for, and how you're trying to make that leap. And I think ultimately, right, I've talked about it all the time. If you're willing the good of the other person, even if it's a little bit painful, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you're outside of your comfort zone, when you're willing their good, you're loving them, right? You're loving that person, and you're and taking that moment for yourself, in my opinion, to try to put yourself in a position that's completely the exact opposite of what you truly know and what you truly believe. If you're doing that on a foundation of trying to do what's best for the other person, then you're going to change the world. People are going to see that, and they're going to do it for the next person. They're going to say, I know that she didn't agree with what I was saying.
Yeah.
But
she listened.
She listened, and we still walked away, and we didn't have a yelling match. We didn't have
Isn't that nice? I mean, isn't it like you think about it? Nobody was screaming at anyone. It was okay.
Right. We didn't fill a comment section with a bunch of hate that limited everybody's life. You know? Right? Like, I mean, what value is that? There's no real value in that.
Hurt people.
Right. And that's
somebody's got to stop.
Right. Somebody's got to stop, and it might as well be me.
Why not?
Like, I feel kind of sorry if you feel that bad about something that I'm doing, then I hope you can find some happiness in life, because you're like, right, you got to have 5 thoughts. You can ask Taylor. I have lots of happy thoughts.
He does, but it's pretty funny when we like some of the social media stuff. You have like all these nice comments, and then you have the one person who said "dumb dance" from a dumb doctor.
Yes, we do get those occasionally. I'm like,
get 'em.
Man,
And he's
but
like,
I keep them up, and I send him a message like, I hope you have an amazing day.
It was pretty funny.
I love that.
Have a nice day.
Thanks for the comments.
I'll actually say,
I'll
I
work
appreciate
harder.
your engagement.
Yes.
Wow. That's usually appreciate your engagement. Wow.
Yep.
Leave it.
All good. All good. Well, some of the things we always talk about leadership, and I mean, you're obviously a leader of your family, your practice, your community. I mean, you're a leader all throughout everywhere here. But what do you think are some of what are the things that you think that separate good leaders from great leaders?
Well, not seagulling very often. No, realistically, no. Realizing when you are, because we're all going to make mistakes, and we're all going to change and shift. I mean, when we're in a pressure cooker, whether it's traditional medicine or entrepreneurship or anything, again, it's the juice in the squeeze. It's what comes out. Sometimes it's not always pretty, but are you willing to change it and grow and move into the next phase?
Right.
And, reconnect. If you were snippy, do you go back immediately and say, I'm sorry for that. I should not have spoken to you that way. I'm sorry for that. That's a good leader to me.
Right.
And whether it happens in the moment or, again, the better you get, the sooner it happens.
Right. And I think doing that just the way that you described it, doing that from a place of not only vulnerability, but also honesty, right? Because one of the things that we see, especially when we were talking about the tyrant, right, is I justified all my bad behavior at the end by giving a relatively insincere apology, right? And we get that. I get that from the medical side, especially in the OR. Like, well, I just dog cussed my entire room for 45 minutes, but doc, at the end, I told him thank you. And it's like, wait a second, you're missing the whole point. And like, those people are miserable in there.
I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Bye.
Right. I'm sorry you couldn't take that. Right. And those pieces, I think, but the ability to look to say, listen, I lost it, and that wasn't right, and I apologize, and to mean that in a sincere way, that's going to come across in a way that's going to actually build your team, and you're going to grow better. And right. And they're going to see you want to be better, and they're also not going to take it home. You're not going to send nurses home crying to their families. You're not going to send people home wanting to, quit their jobs.
Or worse.
Right. And I think that piece, having that, not only the humility to be able to do that, but also the gratitude to understand, like, just like you said, there's 100, 1,000 different steps in what you're doing in your job that somebody else is doing. right?
Right.
And the temptation as a leader is to believe that it's all me,
Right.
right? This empire is all this is all me, right? When in reality, there's so many things. There are so many things that I couldn't do, or that you couldn't do, or that your leaders can't do. And in the OR, in the ER, right? I mean, in the ER, there's
I can't. Yeah.
you couldn't even start.
Can't. Right. You couldn't even start. Like when you think about it, even in the most critical of situations, like, well, yeah, but you can X, Y, and Z. No, you could not even start that because you have two hands. That's it. You know, and I think once, especially in entrepreneurship, that's kind of the tough part is you have to do everything in the beginning. And I thought about it when last year I got a little disenchanted with my practice. And I thought about maybe I should just go back to when I had 100 to 150 patients, not try to help people at scale, because I want to help people at scale, because the more people I can help, the more people I can help. And I
Right.
create systems for other people to help people, because we know there's a shortage, right? So it is what it is. And when I looked at that, and I just fine, I'll just go back to just doing like 100 patients. I can handle that. I'm like, no, but that still wasn't great service. You still needed somebody else backing you up. Because me alone, even if it's just writing a prescription, which it wasn't, but I mean, me coaching, writing the prescriptions, following up, building the systems, making sure the site's HIPAA compliant, making sure the legit script certification is done. I mean, that's why I coach physicians, because they're like, I don't know where to start. I'm like, good news, I do.
Right.
Been there.
And that's really, I mean, I think that's awesome. Really good.
When I think taking from what you said about like what separates a good leader from a great leader, taking that negative interaction, let's say you were snippy, like you brought up, not only making like a sincere apology about it, but then also the self-reflection that comes afterwards. I think that's a good leader, because it takes a good to a great, because it's how to identify to keep this process from happening again. What could I try differently next time? And in the OR, that's the debrief, right? That's, hey, what are things that went really well in this case? What didn't go so well? What could we try differently? Or what tactics could we use differently next time?
And my soul sighs at that. Like my soul is like, thank you, because that's the system. You don't want to play whack-a-mole. Like, oh, this went wrong. Okay, fine. Put a Band-Aid on it. Oh, this went wrong. Oh, it's like Chevy Chase and putting the gum in Hoover Dam. It's something's going to burst. I mean, that's kind of where the healthcare system is right now. But like you said, you go home, you reflect. You're like, no, how do I change the system? When something goes wrong, we had a form issue, and for some reason, partial intake forms were coming in, and I'm like, why are they coming in partial? It wasn't making any sense. They looked full. Well, you're not just going to solve it for one person. And I've taught my team, and this has taken me 6 months to teach the team. You don't solve a problem once. If it's a problem, you solve it. Doesn't happen again. If it happens again, go higher. Because you just have to keep going until, and that's on you. And yes, it's intimidating. Doctors are like, I don't want to do that. I just want to go to work. Yeah, but there's the creative part of you, the part with autonomy and agency that's crying.
Right. Well, and there's that, to me, there's also the ownership, right? There's that ability to say, if I solve this problem now, I'm not only am I solving it for this patient, but now I've solved it for every patient that comes in the future. And even though it's going to take more time for us to write this, for us to do this, to establish this system, for us to set this checklist, ultimately what will happen when we implement this successfully is that everybody changes. And ultimately the world changes, right? If you can do that, if you can bring love, you can bring happiness, you can fill your team with people who are confident doing the things they love, then they're going to do that. And the people they influence are going to do that. And the people they coach are going to do that. And the books they write are going to do that. And I mean, you have that ability, but you have to be able to sit a little bit and look out and say, I think this could happen, right? Like if I can do this, this can happen. And this is going to be real painful for me to sit down and talk and get this part right. But if I can get it right, then look what could happen, right?
How much easier does life become when you solve it upstream? Well, it's like even chronic illness. I mean, think about it from a health standpoint. I mean, think about the days at the end. You do a knee replacement on someone who is a metabolic disaster.
Right.
They're not going to heal. Your outcome's crap. Imagine if we could have caught them 10 years before.
Right.
A lot of what I do is because I watched my grandmother decline.
Yeah.
And she spent 10 years dying in a recliner. And if I could have, for every person I can save out there upstream, that's for her.
Right. It is. And that's huge. I mean, that's beautiful. It's awesome because it gives people that freedom. It gives people the ability to move and to make a difference and make a change, right? And that takes courage, and it takes somebody like a coach, or it takes someone like a friend or a spouse to sit there and tell you that, or it takes a book. So, I mean, for a lot of people, you don't know where that message is ultimately going to come from, but the more you can get the message out there, the more that we avoid things like burnout, we avoid things like despair. We start to turn towards a life and a community that's filled with joy and happiness. And I'm not trying to be like all flowers and sunshine. Life is not easy. Taking call is not easy. Running a business is not going to be easy. You're going to have to work hard. But sometimes, at least for me, like eventually you start to learn to love the slog a little bit too, right? Like, I mean, you don't go out and swim 1.2 miles or 1.1 miles or ride a bike for 120 miles and be like, man, well, that mile number 33 was my favorite. You know? Like,
Mile 33 might have been my favorite. It's
Right.
just mile 87 where I'm usually crying.
right. And so I think that part is learning to find those pieces and have those people who can be there. And I think also, I mean, we've talked about this a lot, which I think this is something that I think is key, is to be able to just revel in happiness for somebody who's doing well. Without feeling jealous or without feeling that FOMO or that like, my gosh, what am I missing or what am I not doing?
Why am I going so slow? Okay, that's
Right.
me. But some days it hits me, why am I not doing better? And then I take a moment. If you've ever read The Gap and the Gain by Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan,
Yep.
It's like walking up a mountain. You're like, oh my goodness, I have so far to go. Or you turn around, you're like, oh, look at that. I've come pretty far. Check this out. It's just turning your head. It's that simple. But if you don't have a coach that's looking from the outside, it looks really dirty and dark and dingy. I mean, and that's why it's funny that you say it comes from a book, because when I first started, July 4th, 2022 was my Independence Day. And I started Manjaro that day, and I hired a business coach after I said, I'm never hiring a business coach again, because I had spent a lot of money and had zero ROI, nothing back. I was making no money. I was coaching just physicians back then. Relatively no money, certainly not enough to drop a shift.
Right.
And because I measured my income in shifts that I could drop.
Sure.
It was incremental. But back then, I mean, that day, a lot changed. I said, you know what? This is the day. And I went forward. And that was my first successful endeavor with a business coach. Have I made mistakes since then? Absolutely. I've hired a couple here and there that really didn't resonate, but you don't know that. And you're going to pay some stupid tax. It is what it is.
It happens for sure. Well, we've got key lime pie for you.
Thank you.
For you and for the family. Also, I think one of the other things I want to just ask you is if Taylor and I could do anything for you, what could we do?
Nothing more than tell your listeners about the book.
They are about to hear even more about it.
Because that's the most important thing to me, is I want as many people as humanly possible. I don't need to give them permission. That's not a permission-based thing, but I want them to understand that they already have the freedom to shift.
Right.
That's what I want people to hear.
Yep. And where can they find you?
Shift with Dr. Mo, DRMOE.com.
That's the best place. You're on Instagram,
You
Facebook,
can always DM me on
all of
Instagram.
those
Yep, Dr. Mo
spots.
Gibbons on Instagram, because somebody took the Dr. Mo. So yeah, it's DRMOE Gibbons, like the monkeys, on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to come and be with us here in the studio / office / Taylor's dungeon, so to speak.
It's a studio.
Yes, it's a beautiful, beautiful studio, Taylor.
With pie.
It's crazy. I don't even like pie.
Boo. You can't
Oh,
be
that's
on,
hilarious.
Can't be on this show and say that. That's terrible. Taylor.
More for me. It's fine.
That's
That's
good.
all good. Well, thank you so much again for being here. I just really appreciate our friendship, the ability that we have to just pick up the phone, call each other, shoot a text. You're always there for me, and I really, really appreciate that. I think for your readers, for your listeners, for your patients and your clients, you guys are very lucky to have Dr. Mo. She is a gift and a blessing. And so please take advantage of that. If you don't know Dr. Mo, find her online. We'll put links in the YouTube and include everything so you can get in touch with her. That's it for us.
Thank you.
We're going to give you maybe some applause if I can hit the right button.
You did great.
And we'll close out with music.
Love it.
You rock. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Mo.